Hello guys and welcome back to another video. Today we are reviewing Doctor Who Series 10 Episode 7, The Pyramid at the End of the World. Obviously it isn't in the title because it's such a long title that I didn't want this title of the episode to be so long. But I'm sure if you're a fan of Doctor Who, that's why you're watching it. You want to hear my thoughts on it. You want to maybe hear what I think about it. So without further ado, let's dive in to Episode 7, The Pyramid at the End of the World. So we open up this episode and things are being a bit weird, and we see that Bill's on a date. And well, actually, you have the previous trailer. Then we see that Bill's on a date, and I thought, I saw the previously bit, but then I thought, hang on a second, that didn't happen last episode. And then, you know, we kind of get the same opening as last week's episode. She sits down at the table, she's having a cup of coffee, having a date, telling Penny about all these different... she's telling Penny about this dream about her being in a Matrix-style thing. And then this simulation. And then, out of nowhere, a UN soldier turns up. And he asks for the president and asks if Bill knows the president. And she says, well, I'm not the president's orange. Obviously, that is the BBC having a massive dig. Well, just basically referencing Donald Trump. And I love the fact that it was Bill that said it, because we all know Trump's opinion on African Americans and blacks. And the fact that Bill's black, it's kind of funnier to hear her say that he's orange. Because at the end of the day, if he can define people to a colour, sorry about that sound, if he can define people to a colour, she can call him orange, and it doesn't matter. So I thought that was really cool. And then the next thing we know, the Doctor's in the TARDIS, is doing his stuff, making his speech and stuff. Bill asks him to open the door. And we're on a plane. And the Doctor's basically been kidnapped by the UN. Obviously, then they land and they're talking about a pyramid. And he's like, yeah, of course there's no problem with the pyramid being there. You know, it wasn't there yesterday. And obviously we've got the title sequence, etc. And then Bill's talking about what the pyramid could actually be. And she mentions that it could be a spaceship, an alien spaceship in disguise, obviously. Then it could be using a chameleon circuit to look like a pyramid. I love the Doctor's red shirt in this. I think it looks really good with his black coat. It kind of looks really cool. I'm not sure if he had red lining on the inside of his coat in this. I couldn't really see, because I know he's supposed to have blue lining at some point. So maybe he did in this episode have the blue lining, so it didn't clash with the red shirt. I'm not sure. But I must admit, it must have been really hard for Peter Capaldi to film in weather like that, in a big coat like that. I believe it was filmed at the same place they did the Zygon episode. It looked like the same village, but I'm not sure. I think it was supposed to be somewhere in the Middle East. And then we realised that the monks are actually in control. Well, the monks are trying to be in control of this pyramid. And, well, they're in the control of the pyramid, but they're trying to be in control of the world, I think. Obviously, we know that the Doctor's still blind, and that ain't going to change. To be fair, I was getting a bit bored of the whole blind thing. And I love the fact that because the Doctor's blind, a walkie-talkie into Nardol's little coat bead. I just thought that was really interesting and really cool, the fact that they just added that little instinct in. But shit, to not realise that something's going on if Nardol's describing what's happened through his coat so that the Doctor can hear him and so that the Doctor knows. It wouldn't have been so bad if, you know, he'd have just been repeating, if he'd have just been saying what was there. But because he kept saying, sir, the monk, it's the monk there. It's like, why didn't Bill catch on? I mean, she did say, what are you doing? But she didn't keep pressuring him. And I felt like I should have pressured him, should have found out a lot sooner about the Doctor being blind. And then there's this massive flash, and I thought the Doctor did it because he used his sonic glasses, which I thought they'd got rid of them, but no. He does some kind of sonic thing with his glasses, and then 11:57 comes up on his phone, comes up on the screen that you can see inside his glasses. I do like the fact they've added that in this season because it is kind of like a bit of sci-fi, because the Doctor doesn't get that much sci-fi these days. Well, he does, he gets more sci-fi, but I just like the fact that they've put it in there. And then everyone's phone starts going off, and it kind of reminded me of in Man of Steel when Zod first takes off the Earth and there's messages all across the screens. And then obviously we get to see the Doomsday clock, and then for some reason we keep seeing this lab, and we keep getting these shots of a bottle breaking and a pair of glasses breaking. Now, even after watching this episode, I still don't have a clue why those things were shown breaking. If you guys know, let me know in the comments below, because I don't actually know why these things were shown breaking. Whether they'll explain it next week, I don't know. I don't know. It just felt weird. It was strange to me. That was happening. I don't know. So then basically you've got this whole we get to see the monks stood around a triangle kind of pyramid shaped thing that's kind of like an orb, and they're watching things. I liked that. I thought it was a nice add-in, but I don't think it was that necessary. I don't think it was necessarily needed, to be honest. And then we go. Well, I suppose that's how the monks they've watched Earth, and obviously we learn that they've always watched Earth. So it's like, are they basically the gods? They're trying to be gods. I don't know, which kind of understands why they look like the Pyrovile. I don't know. Maybe that's just like a little Easter egg there that I didn't pick up on. And then the pyramid shoots some big light, beam of light out, and it's like it reminds me of some kind of Illuminati style thing. But you know, Illuminati is not a big thing anymore. And then the monks take over. The monks hijack a plane, and they land it. But then we keep going back to this science lab. Like, I'm really confused. I just didn't understand at this point why they kept going back to the science lab, and why the science lab kept showing up again, and why it was happening like that, because it just didn't make sense. They didn't explain it. We just saw these scientists in a lab, and then the Doctor in the Middle East, and wherever he was. And then the Doctor enters the pyramid. We get to see the Doctor enter the pyramid. And that's when he enters with... I don't think he enters with Bill, I'm not sure, but he enters, and the head of the head of the UN, you know, they're talking to them. They basically say that they chose this form of monks, so that the humans would trust them, basically. But they don't look like humans, and he says they look like corpses. And I love his reply: "You're all corpses to us," because obviously the end of the world's coming. So it kind of makes you remember the fact that all this is happening because the end of the world is coming. And that, I'm not sure. Maybe it's possible that the monks were once the Pyrovile. Who knows? Who knows? Then we you know, the monks are talking about they want to protect the world, and they want to protect the Earth for the sake of the humans, but all they need is love and consent. And then they get the Doctor, they get Bill, they get Nardole, they get the UN president to grab hold of like these metal wire thing. Well, not metal, more like optic fiber wires, and it flashes stock footage from the end of the world. And obviously it was stock footage because I've seen that footage somewhere before. in a disaster movie, I think. So yeah, then, but they're not actually going to film like 2 second shots of the end of the world when they can just put those in. And then what I found more like strange is the fact that in this episode, Bill sees the end of the world and she's shocked by it. She's upset by it. She doesn't like it. Yet in episode 2 of season 10, she got to see the end of the world. So I don't understand why she was so bothered if she's already seen the end of the world. But I suppose it's happening sooner than it should. But she should know by then how the world ends, so obviously it's not going to end. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's a little gap they've left there, that bit of a plot hole they've left. But yeah. And then the UN president, he gives consent. Well, he tries to give consent, but because his consent isn't pure and it isn't love, and he doesn't love the monks, basically he gets turned to stone. And I love the way they light him up, and it's kind of like a vampire evaporating in the sunlight, and then he just gets basically turned to dust. But I love the effect that they use, because it was kind of like when an angel touches you but doesn't send you back in time, I suppose. Just the way he crumbled to stone, I thought that was really cool. Or dust or whatever, but it looked like stone. And then we go back to the lab again, and we see that some gas has come out, some chemical, and it makes all the plant life die. And then the doctor's back in that kind of bunker thing with the 3 army leaders and Bill and Nardole, and he's like, something's ending the world. And then I thought, hang on a minute, they keep showing these scientists. Is it science that's ending the world? Is that what the episode's trying to show, that all this science that we're doing is ending the world, which I suppose is a political statement for global warming's ending the world. Yeah. And then we see this scientist, the scientist who have been seen all episode that was male. He dies, and he just sort of evaporates into this gooey mush, like he explodes. And that's because he was originally in a vacuum, but the door gets left open and he explodes, basically, which I thought was really cool, because last episode, or not last episode, the episode before, when Oxygen, when the doctor was talking about a vacuum, I thought it was a nice little callback to that episode, and the fact that a vacuum can make you explode. And then we get the doctor comes up with this plan that he could blind the monks to stop them being able to take over the world or whatever they want to do, because they don't quite know their plan. And at first I thought, like, how's he going to blind them? What is he going to do? But then obviously he goes inside the TARDIS, and we get shots of then the science lab being evacuated for some reason. Then the doctor goes inside the TARDIS, and he's talking to Nardole, and he basically tells Nardole to turn off all the cameras and then see which camera turns back on. And the one that they turn on happens to be a lab in Yorkshire, which turns on, and the doctor goes there. I love the way the doctor just comes out, and that girl and the female scientist is asking who he is. She goes, "What's that?" And the doctor just makes a joke, and he's like, "Oh, that's Nardole." Yeah, I know, I thought the same too. And then Nardole says that he's not human, which that gave me a call back to the fact that I actually forgot he wasn't human, even though he looks human. So, yeah. I just thought that was a nice little cool thing that they put in there, and I love the little jokes that the Doctor makes about Nardole. Then he sends Nardole to park the TARDIS. That's when we find out it's a Yorkshire lab. And the Doctor realises then that this bacteria is going to wipe out the human race and wipe out humanity itself. And so the Doctor plans to sterilise the bacteria. And rather than boiling it in water, he decides to blow up the lab. And at this point, I thought, obviously, they're not going to show the blowing up scene, because I did read that this episode had been edited after the devastating terror attack in Manchester this week on Monday evening. I read that they was cutting the scene out of this episode to pay respect because it wasn't suitable to view, judging by the circumstances of Monday's attack. And then we cut back to the three army leaders, and they say that they're representing all the power of the planets, but none of their consent is pure, and they all get turned to stone and die, basically. And then the Doctor's there making the bomb out of some really cheap wire and a flask, and he's just making a bomb, which we have seen the Doctor make a bomb before, but how fast he makes it. And then he says that machine goes ping, which just reminded me of when the 10th Doctor said it's a machine that goes ding, like from the 50th, and just like he did in an episode of Doctor Who itself. And it just kind of, the fact that the 12th Doctor then said it's a machine that'll go ping, the lab goes boom. I don't know. It's kind of like, it was kind of like he was treating it like a microwave, I suppose, with like overheating popcorn. I don't know. So obviously the Doctor's made this bomb, and he puts it in he puts it in a place, and he sets it for 2 minutes. He then goes back to this door, but he can't get through because he's blind and he can't open it. And he's trying to get hold of Nardole to hack into the cameras to see it, but Nardole's knocked out on the TARDIS floor, which we never find out why Nardole was knocked out on the TARDIS floor. Which I'm kind of annoyed about. I feel like that was something that they should have left in there. Anyway, so the Doctor then reveals to Bill that in these circumstances he has to tell her he thinks he's going to die. He's blind. Turns out he's blind, and she knows the Doctor's going to die and she wants to save him. So obviously, Bill being Bill and wanting to save the Doctor because she's a good person, she goes to the monks and she consents the Earth. She gives Earth its power. And I love the fact the monks basically say that being nobody is having the most power. And the fact that it's Bill that has this power is quite a strong political statement, not just because she's a woman, but because she's black. And the fact that the monks are then saying that she has that authority to make consent for Earth is a massive political, in a way, political propaganda, but it is a massive statement for women's rights, really. And I supported it all the way. A lot of TV shows I watch campaign for women's rights, like Supergirl. I love all the little sort of digs they make at Trump by what they say about women having power. And that's such a good, inspirational, amazing thing to actually watch. But obviously Bill consents, and we don't actually see Bill consent, but then we do see the Doctor get his sight back. And then he manages to get through the airlock. He stands with the girl. Now, then the lab explodes. It blows up. I thought out of all the scenes they could have cut from this episode to pay respect for the horrific Manchester terror attack on Monday, I thought it would be the explosion scene that they would cut out. But no. They didn't cut out the explosion scene. They left it in. So I am interested to see which scene. I have a feeling it could have been early on in the episode where the plane was going to drop a bomb. I have a feeling that it was going to drop a bomb, but they cut that bit out. when it actually drops it. But I don't know. I honestly thought the explosion of the lab actually blowing up would be the edited episode, but apparently not. Unless they just didn't edit the episode because they thought it would be too hard. But I don't think it would. Anyway, so then we end with that cliffhanger. We don't find out what happens to Nadal. Bill's with the monks after she's just consented, but we haven't seen anything from her. We don't know if she actually consented. The Doctor has his sight back, and there's a massive cliffhanger left because the monks now have Earth. So roll credits, and then we get our beautiful, beautiful next time trailer, which I am so excited for. And I am so happy that I was right. I've been saying for ages in comments on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, and in my videos, I've even been saying that in the back of my mind, I can remember reading that there was going to be a 3-part story this episode. And last week's review, I said this is going to be a 3-part story. And then there was this whole, are we getting a surprise 3-part story episode thing that Radio Times published. And I was like, yes we are, because The Lie of the Land is the 3rd part. So, the next time trailer starts, and the first thing we see are the monks. And we also get a look at that whole Truth logo being flashed up. Obviously, this is the episode that we saw them filming with the black hooded figures, and they were on the filming pictures where everyone thought that they was the statue with the truth symbol was a weeping angel that had come off. Obviously, and then we see like someone, I think the Doctor says, this is a massive lie. All our lives we've been lied to, hence the lie of the land. So I thought that was quite cool. We see Missy return, and the best thing that we get to see about Missy is that she's one, either in her TARDIS, or 2, she's in the vault. Now, my theory is that the vault is actually her TARDIS, and it's been locked for her safety. But I'm so glad that we get to see Missy back again, and at least she's not being executed this time. But I really do hope that we get to see what's inside the vault, because we didn't see the vault this episode, but the vault did show up just before we saw the shots of Missy and inside a room in the next time trailer. And right at the end of the trailer, we see a gun in focus, a pistol, being fired by a man in a suit. And if you look in the background, you can see a blurred out image of the Doctor. So basically, the Doctor's being shot at. And we all know what happens if the Doctor gets shot. He regenerates. And looking at the background from that last little shot in the next time trailer, that is definitely the shot from the trailer where the Doctor regenerates. So the Doctor's going to regenerate next episode, but I don't think he will. Because my theory, and let me know what your theories are in the comments, but my theory is that these 2 episodes, basically the past 3 episodes, all 3 parts, have been a simulation. And they didn't suspect that the Doctor could regenerate, and they don't know what he's going to look like next, so they reboot the simulation to bring the Doctor back. Either that, or he'll start regenerating, and he'll get shot dead. But because it's a simulation, he'll escape the simulation, and it'll be about the Doctor being on his own and having to shut down the whole simulation himself. And that's interesting, because I read the synopsis for the next episode, and the next episode says that Nadal and Bill are going to embark on a journey of themselves. So if the Doctor got shot and regenerated, and this whole thing was inside a simulation, he'd be sent out of the simulation, meaning that we'd get to see Nadal and Bill on their own inside the simulation, whilst the Doctor's on the outside trying to stop it. So that's my theory for next week's episode and the future. Obviously, this week we've had some massive Doctor Who news. Doctor Who has been confirmed to be running to at least season 15, which means it won't finish till 2022 at the latest. It may even run past that. Hopefully it will, but who knows. But I'm so glad that we got that because it's just makes me happy. Obviously, Doctor Who's now allowed to be aired in China, which is awesome, and I'm so glad they did. So yeah, guys, the permanent at the end of the world. Out of 10, I'd rate this episode a 8. No, I wouldn't. I'd rate it a 6. It was a good episode. It was strong, but it was very political, which I didn't mind, but it was very political. There wasn't much action. It jumped around in time too much. And it was hard to understand and follow. And in addition to that, I feel like the explosion scene was a little bit inappropriate, judging by the circumstances, with the Manchester terrorist attack being so recent, and then them saying that they'd edited the episode, but they kept the explosion scene in. I just felt was a little bit too inappropriate, I suppose. I don't know. If you guys also thought it was inappropriate, please let me know in the comments below. Let me know your theories on the future episodes and next week's episode. Let me know what your theories about. Is that Missy in the vault? Is the vault her TARDIS? Who knows? Let me know your thoughts on the episode in the comments below. Thank you for watching this amazing episode review. I've been the Doc 11th. Please leave a like, a comment, and obviously, if you haven't already, subscribe. And I'll see you next time for next week's episode. Obviously, this week's episode was on the Saturday. Normally, I do it on the Sunday morning. But I did it on the Saturday tonight because I managed to watch it when it was on. Kind of. I watched it a little bit later, but I managed to do this review afterwards. So thank you for watching. I've been the Doc 11th, and I'll see you next Sunday for yet another Doctor Who episode review. If you haven't already, go check out the gaming channel. I'll put the link in the description below. I've just been doing an Injustice gameplay on there. There'll be another episode up very, very soon. And that's about it, guys. That's about it. I'll see you next Sunday. If you guys want any more bonus videos, just whilst I'm talking to you, if you guys want any more bonus videos, please let me know if you want any bonus videos, any theory videos, any DC style videos. Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to leave a like, a comment, and a subscribe. And I will see you guys next time for episode 8 review next Sunday morning, The Lie of the Land. And let's see if my theories are true and where my theories could go. Thanks for watching, guys. Goodbye for now. Goodbye.